Hello everyone, welcome to this OnCrawl interview. Today we are really pleased to invite our newest ambassador, Murat Yatağan. He has recently joined the board as an ambassador, and today we're going to talk with him to know a little bit more about his background, his SEO expertise, and what he's doing today. So thank you for joining us, Murat.
Thanks for hosting me.
The first question is, can you talk a little bit more about yourself and why and how you started in the SEO industry?
My name is Murat, and I'm from Turkey. To give a little bit of introduction about what I have been doing for the last 10, 12 years. So after finishing my studies in computer science, then I had a master's degree in engineering management. And at the same time, when I was doing my master's, I was working as a research assistant at the University for Computer Science, and I was basically working on neural networks. After that, I got hired by Google in Ireland, and I was working in the search quality team as a senior product quality analyst. And the team has now been named as the trust and safety. What I was basically doing there for 5 years is try to find the web spam issues in scale, and in order to do that, we were trying to grab the signals that identified in the crawling and indexing part of search, and then we were trying to implement these signals. Trying to use these signals to implement pipelines to develop scalable solutions to understand which kind of websites are not highest quality websites and not relevant for specific terms. So basically, I had a chance to work on many different teams regarding the web spam. And after that, I decided to start my own business for SEO, to give consultancy. And I went back to Turkey, mainly because of the family reasons, but also wanted to try this challenge. And I had a chance to work with more than 65 clients during the last almost 4 years. This business is still ongoing, but after 1 year I spent in Turkey, I wanted to go back to Europe, and I started working for a German company in Munich called Global Savings Group. They are the biggest coupon player in the industry. They are basically providing coupons. And I was there working as a senior SEO manager, so I had a team that helps me to oversee the optimization of more than 100 platforms. And that was extremely successful career. It was a great ride. But after that, I got hired by a company called Brainy, which is a Polish company. So I'm currently working in Krakow, and it's been already 5 months. I'm working as VP of Growth, and basically overseeing all the marketing activities here in the company, and still doing consultancy. That's generally it. And the reason I started in SEO industry was to contribute to the industry by using my knowledge that I grabbed in the last almost 10 years, and I have developed an expertise, and I wanted to try some of the findings that I had, especially gained in Google, because what I have seen in the industry is mainly people are focusing on only low-hanging fruits by focusing on the easiest findings, let's say, but there is a deeper level of how search engines work, and I was mainly focusing on what Google was also keep highlighting is focus on the user and the else will follow. That has never been changed. And I've seen a lot of great impact on also for my clients when I was implementing these things. And I think that I will stay in this industry for many more years.
Yeah, nice intro, thanks. So why did you decide to leave the Google search quality team? And if you had to keep one thing, what would it be? What do you take from it?
After spending 5 years at Google's search quality team as the product analyst, I first wanted to try something else. The concept of going out of the comfort zone that was my calling. And after I get this inspiration, I was trying to understand what kind of things I can do if I leave Google. Well, first of all, I will say I take the first 2 months to just think about it. And I was talking with agencies. I actually tried working for an agency, but it wasn't really suitable for me. And then I was talking with startups. I was talking with what can I do in-house, and also big corporates. So after looking into these, all of the options, I was sure that I wanted to do something by myself. And thanks God that it worked very well. But I had many international clients from 7 different countries, but mainly from Turkey because of my popularity in there. And I never tried pitching to any client. I never had like a great website to grab clients or never put any money on advertisement. It's mainly worked with word of mouth because I was like always focusing on trying my best to get the results, but I wasn't really trying to create an impression on the people that I'm super good by screaming about it. And I specifically focused on helping the online business owners to grow their user base and mainly focusing on the organic visibility. What I generally like, one of the biggest things I got from Google was, especially after being specialized on their core product of search, which was like absolutely amazing. But first of all, I learned many lessons throughout this entire experience. But one of the biggest one was to learn how to approach the complex problem and put it into parts and work on them one by one. And I was more like a perfectionist because I wanted to be a scientist doing my research assistant, but then everything changed. And Google gave me the idea that progress over perfection is something that you might want to choose, because it's like keep trying things, fail and fail better, but keep learning. So that was the biggest key learning I had at Google, and that kind of changed my mentality about looking into complex problems and also working with brilliant minds, the smartest people. I understand the importance of the teamwork as well, because before I joined the Google, for the couple, I actually wanted to do something by myself, even when I was at Google. But with the team, you have a higher impact and you don't get burned out as well. Because if you keep working all the time, you have to think about the consequences of what happens when you are sick or something. But with the team, you are always being covered. And it's always the best option is to discuss your opinions with a partner, with a business partner. Because even though you are 100% sure based on your gut feelings and based on the insights that you grabbed by using business intelligence, but it's still discussing with people that you know they are smart and care about the business. It always gives you a different perspective, and I understand the importance of the team orientation. Yeah, actually, I must say the first 2 months after I left Google was extremely difficult because I just wanted to go back. I realized that was it's possibly the best company to work for me. But doing SEO consultancy and working for startups was also extremely satisfying for the last 4 years.
Yeah, looks like you had a great time there. So now, as you said, you're working for Brainly. It's one of the largest social learning networks. Could you tell us a little bit more about your biggest SEO challenges there?
Yeah, so as you just mentioned, it's actually not one of the biggest, it's the biggest, largest online community helping students, getting students, parents, and teachers all together to solve academic problems and exchange knowledge. We got, before I tell the challenge, I'll give you a little bit more information, is that we have more than 100 million monthly unique users, and we are answering 150,000 questions every day. So our question knowledge base is gigantic. So that all comes to this scalability issue, of course, because like as a VP of growth, my role is to make sure that the domains are healthy enough to serve the users what they are looking for and provide them the best user experience, so that my team is working on the multiple aspects of how to provide this user experience to our users. And of course, we focus on optimizing for organic search, optimizing for Google ads and different ads like Facebook, Snapchat, and all others. So my main focus is to satisfy the users. But when it comes to so many URLs and so many users and ever-growing content, I find one of the most important things is that our crawl rate is high enough that we are making sure that all the answers are being crawled as fast as they can do. That's why I keep on focusing on the relationship between my team and engineering and product team. And that was like one of the most important things I wanted to achieve. And thankfully, we have achieved this even the first quarter I joined the company. And now the biggest challenge is that making sure that Google still crawls fast enough, and then, of course, index our results. So I've seen a lot of pages are still being discovered, but not crawled because they are still waiting in crawl scheduler, and of course not getting indexed. So that doesn't create a lot of traffic for us. So that's one of the biggest challenges I'm still working on. And also, I like to focus on getting higher quality mentions over other websites, because our brand is getting to be known much better. I mean, think about like more than 100 million monthly unique users. That's huge. But still, most of the people are finding us from organic search by trying to understand the questions they are getting, like what kind of information they want to find. And of course, I like to focus on this brand mention to bring our websites more power.
Okay, and I guess user experience has also a lot of importance in your strategy. How do you track that? How do you optimize the user experience on the website?
That's a great question. So it's always been tricky, and it's based on the industry that we are working for. For our industry, it's specifically important that users get the answers they are looking for their questions, because they come to our site for the academic knowledge, and we have a lot of moderators. We got people that helps to each other. They are so motivated about doing this. We got teachers that help to students as fast as they can, and we keep doing tests. So there is a lot of A/B tests running. We keep doing QA, like quality assurance, and I work with almost all departments, because like growth team is lying in the core of this company. So our growth is extremely important, but we cannot do this just by my own. So I'm creating strategies, I'm creating assistance to engineering, product team, to content team, to our communities, and keep creating guidelines or creating the gyro tickets, like working on strategies, planning the quarters. So how I make sure the UX is still good is, of course, like understanding some metrics. So we build some dashboards to understand this, but we keep doing tests. For example, looking at the heat maps, we try to conduct some interviews with the users, and we keep doing tests. Like we keep changing the design, we keep adding new features. For example, one of the biggest features that we have right now is the Brain Plus. It's a different service in US market. Like it's one of the monetized market, and we are trying some experiments to make sure that the monetization funnel is still not. We're still creating a lot of engagement for our users. That's why I'm talking with our business owner of this team, like the monetization team, quite a lot. And we are making sure that we have the right guide, like we are following the guidelines to satisfy the users, and whatever experiments we try doesn't break, like doesn't create this huge trade-off with growth.
Thanks. I saw also that you wrote a few posts about schema.org and structured data. Do you think structured data should be at the heart of any SEO strategy? What are your thoughts on this? I'm sure you have plenty of insight.
Yeah, you're right. So especially why I was super excited about structured data was when I was working at the Global Savings Group. It was coupon industry, and many of the players were abusing the rich snippets by using events, structured data, to promote their coupons. And that's totally against the guidelines. But unfortunately, like they were not being called by Google very fast. And I've escalated this by sending spam reports and by being vocal about this on Twitter and trying to get seen. Then they were all taken down. And that was like a huge impact because if you are using the right structured data, you get more prominent search appearance on the search engine result pages, and that increases the highly likely the CTRs. And after the CTRs getting increased, if you satisfy the users, then your rankings might increase. So they all start it definitely helps you to grow your business. And especially the last 2 years, like 4 or 5 years ago, Google introduced the knowledge graph, and that was one of the signs that Google is more focused on entities rather than just shingles, rather than just like words, combination of words and the backlinks. So what happened after that is Google introduced rich results. They used to be called as rich snippets. Now they are rich results. And what happens is that once you use right structured data, you get amazing search appearance on the SERP. And recently, after I joined Brainy, I was looking into what can I do from structured data point of view. I have talked with the engineering team, and we had a really successful implementation of this new markup that is called QA page, because we are our pages are having questions and multiple answers. So we have implemented this, and we were the first online education service that implemented this and was live in the search. First, there was an experiment with only in the French domain, but then it escalated to all domains. And I'm still gathering some data because this experiment is kind of new, but the indexing rate of these questions are quite high. And from what I've seen from many markets is that the CTRs driven by the rich results using QA page is at least 20% higher than the other pages. So that was a great implementation. And I believe not only the structured data, but structuring your page is extremely important, because you know about maybe heard the featured snippet, like Google's, many people calls it ranking 0. And if you structure your content in a more readable way by putting right titles, using headers, creating bullet points, using tables, think about just like reading a book, which is very boring. There is no structure at all. It's just like this. Or think about a book with easier to understand points, underlines, different buckets, so that actually you get the point of what you are reading much faster. Because I would highly recommend anyone to use structured data and try to structure their websites.
Yeah, you get some pretty good results actually. So I'm really looking forward to see more about your experiments. So you're also a US, UK, European, and MENA Search Awards Judge for the past 3 years, I guess. And so you seem to have reviewed quite a lot of different campaigns in the SEO industry. How do you see it evolving regarding technical SEO?
Oh, so I have probably seen like more than 1,000 applicants entries throughout these last 3 years on these 4 events, and like among them there are amazing campaigns, like absolutely stunning. Some of them are touching into outreach, some of them are touching into content. But what I have seen in general, especially the agencies helping to clients to create these amazing campaigns, there was a specific pattern. And this pattern has like 5 elements in general. The first element is to define your KPIs, your objectives and key results very obviously. So they were creating an absolute what is the performance indicator and what they like to achieve. Then they're also talking about a precise implementation of their campaigns or their projects. And I have not seen a great agencies that won awards or almost they were about to win awards. They never skipped the foundations of SEO, and they were focusing on the technical aspects like crawl issues, indexing problems, on-page implementation, especially focusing on technical SEO. Before, I've also seen this in very in creative agencies as well. Even though they are just going to build backlinks, they start with the technical SEO, because if you don't fix your website's SEO foundations, whatever you do to website is just going to be a makeup, and you will never be a beautiful website. Because like the problem is Google cannot crawl you, it cannot find your URLs very well. That's why they cannot index you. So you will never highly likely rank very well, because your URL is not even being reviewed by Google correctly. So the great agencies that won awards or almost won the awards, they always focus on this as the third aspect. And then a great entries generally have this common point of making it very clear the explanation of the steps that they took to achieve their goals. And it's very important also, if anyone wants to apply, they need to keep it simple, because like there's a lot of judges, there's tons of applicants, and it's very important to keep it simple but solve tough problems.
Yeah, go straight to the point, I guess. So if you're an SEO agency, you now have all the key to play.
Yeah.
Speaking about technical SEO, what would be your key steps to audit a website?
Oh, so in my opinion, SEO is creating, like, SEO's definition is like creating the compelling online experience for users and making sense to search engine bots. So in order to achieve this, in my trainings, in my workshops, I also give these 4 main pillars of SEO. Let me walk you through these 4 main points. The first one being content, second one is engagement, third one is the technical SEO, and the last one is the backlink profile. So let me give you a little bit brief information about these 4 points. So with the content, what you need to focus is that you need to make sure that you are providing users the relevant information. And also your pages should cover the context around the main, like let's say, head terms of like the keywords that you are targeting for. It's not just about mentioning the keywords or their synonyms 100 times, or focusing on like what should be my numbers of keywords, 800, 3000. So these are not the question that applies to SEO industry nowadays, but you need to focus on the contextual coverage of your content. Of course, the term frequency is important. Like you can do analysis like TF-IDF or LSI, and you can still look at the correlation between number of the words or the easiness of the read, your content, with the rankings. But correlation is not always the causation, especially there is like more than 200 parameters of ranking. Of course, you need to make sure that your content is spam-free, because you might get attacked, or your CMS is having a malware, or like if you have a community like us, you need to make sure that the users are not putting abusive content in there. And the last point is the duplication. If you have duplicated contents, you will not get, like people say, penalization. You will not get penalized, or there's no algorithmic adjustment for duplication to lower your rankings. But the problem is, if you have a lot of duplicated content, then you are actually decreasing your crawl rates and your indexation, your indexed, like the numbers of indexed URLs will drop drastically based on that. And you never know which URL will be canonical. So it will distract, it will create the noise in your monitoring system as well. Second point, engagement, is you can mainly look at the page views per sessions to understand how many users are going deep dive on your website, so they find your website interesting, because like many users are coming from the search engine result pages to direct one page, and then they might leave. But if they find your page interesting, compelling, maybe they are engaging with your website. This is like a nice engagement metric. So you can also look at the term like time on site and also bounce rates. But many people think that they are directly ranking factors. They are not. Google Analytics metrics are not used in ranking calculations, but still they give you some information. And also that specifically applies to our site, but also many sites, is to look at the ratings of your pages. If you have these ratings, like, or how many pages have comments by users, asking questions, getting thanks, getting +1, all these things, or getting reshared. So these are like telling about are users engaged with your content, or just like reading the first couple sentences and go back. About the technical issue, crawlability, like is your website discoverable by Google bots or like other search engine bots? And then what about the indexing of your paging? Especially if you are dependent on JavaScript, you need to make sure that your website is being indexed correctly. Is your website structured enough? It's very important to tell Google briefly what your page is about by structuring your site, because Googlebot is reading the page not like we do. So they're just grabbing the HTML and rendering, so they see different things. So you need to help bots to understand what your page is about, and that's one of the ways structuring your page. And then the on-page signals, like using the right meta elements, using the headings, or like alt tags for your images, or like some text for your JavaScript and stuff. The last point being is the backlinks. Well, as you know, Google has been invented based on the PageRank algorithm. So Larry Page and Sergey Brin were writing their thesis at Stanford University, doing PhD, and they download the entire internet. And then they thought, like, what can we do with this? So they come up with this algorithm called Backrub, and then they changed the name to PageRank. So it's based on links, and it is still being used. So it has been normalized and changed, of course, throughout the last 20 years. But backlinks are the implementation of attention economy to online search. And it's very important to look at your backlinks. And there are some metrics you can look at, like the amount of backlinks, the quality of them, the relevancy of them, the distribution of anchors, distribution between the follow and the no follows. But it's very important to make sure that your backlinks are natural enough, like editorial enough, and they are spam-free, because you are responsible of your backlink profile. So you cannot say, oh, I got attacked, or you cannot say, I didn't get that link, so I didn't make anything to get that link or something. So there are definitely webmaster guidelines provided by Google, provided by Bing, so you can go ahead and read them and see how you can fight against the spam. And also, like, many people try to sculpt the PageRank, but it doesn't work in that way. So PageRank is not like a very static and easy algorithm to understand. It depends on many different things. I will say, think about how users will click your pages. Think about providing users a nice navigation and providing users a relevant links. So, like, internally, and externally also try to get editorial links by creating interesting, compelling content pieces that get attention.
Okay, and what is in your tool sets to audit these metrics?
Well, I'm using multiple tools, but it's extremely important if when I need to audit a website, especially when I start working with a client or need to kick off a project. So I focus on all these pillars, and I try to understand the big picture rather than just like fixing every little thing. So it's extremely important to first decide what will have the biggest impact and which one will be the easiest to implement. So it's like a 4 layers matrix. Easy to implement, biggest impact is definitely I go first. Hard to implement, low effect is I don't even touch it. So after this, if you want to have a successful audit, you need to invest on crawlers. So I had a chance to use many different crawlers, and I had a chance to actually write my own crawler. But it's one of the most important things that you want for crawlers is that how accurate they are crawling your page, how fast they are doing this, and then afterwards what kind of insights they are providing to you. Many crawlers give you a lot of data about everything, then you have to just take your time and crunch the data. But also some crawlers, like one of them being OnCrawl, is providing a lot of insights instead of just like drowning you with data. And especially afterwards, the most important thing of the audit result is to show what you have found. So I've seen many agencies, many great consultants are just keep writing 100 pages of what they found with words. But have you heard this term like one picture or like one small thing tells like words, 10,000 keywords, like 10,000 words? So I believe in that. So I try to use the insights, create graphs, create tables, show the clients and my company's teams that this is important because of that. So once you transform the data into insights and the insights becomes the wisdom at some point, everything changes. It worth more than 5 hours of conversation or 100 pages of audits. So that's why like crawlers is one of them. And of course, to do like UX analysis, you might need to invest the heat map pages or like analytical trackers, like especially Google Analytics or like different platforms. And for looking at your backlink profile, there are powerful tools that are doing the backlink analysis. And I prefer mainly using Ahrefs, Majestic for that. And it's also important to conduct some competitive analysis, looking at your competitors, what is their search visibility. And there are many tools like this as well, like Search Metrics, SEMrush. And I will say, before you decide, look around which market you are focusing and try to understand what is the database of this research tool that you are going to use. So all these custom dashboards and creating these information makes your life easier.
Thanks for the tips, very helpful. So you mentioned the custom dashboards. What type of data do you use, do you crunch to ingest into these custom dashboards?
Yeah, so especially when I started to work with OnCrawl, they also invest the time for me to onboard in the product. And then I have seen that there are like couple features like using custom segmentation and then scraping data, and then of course creating your custom dashboards. So these 3 steps, if you combine them all, it's extremely powerful. So what you can do is you can play around with your log files plus your search analytics, like crawl metrics as well. Like these 3 dimensions come together, and then think about making the analysis like between the latency between the first crawl, first indexation time, and the first time you get the first click. Like if you can optimize this latency between them, you will change a lot of things for your website. The growth will be 10x, because the growth cannot be 10x by just keep creating content. It's not scalable. You need to focus on how bots discover your website. You need to focus on that you show what you have done great to make it visible to bots as well, not only just the users. You need to focus on the users, but you need to make sure that the bots can discover this on return. So one of my favorite custom dashboard is, for example, in OnCrawl is this characteristic of ranking pages in structure info, because it shows like it's a correlation. What kind of different parameters were like their values depending on the different ranking buckets, like number 1, 1, 3, 3, 5, 5, 10, something like this. And that's extremely useful to understand, like in short, what were the most important metrics. Like, was it payload? Was it the number of the words? Was it the meta titles? Was it the number of the internal links coming to the page? Like, I'm using way too many dashboards. I create dashboards by using Supermetrics plus Data Studio. At Brainy, we have our own BI system. We got data engineers collecting all this data throughout different APIs. So I use many dashboards, but when I collaborate with different teams, I try to focus on golden metrics. But not all the projects can have a golden metric. Although our company has one North Star metric, which is the monthly unique users. So once you go from low level to higher level, for example, my conversation with C-suite, with C-level employees is different than my conversation with my BI analyst or the technical SEO manager. So for lower level, you need tons of dashboards and data, but for highest level, you need to create one golden metric, and creating this golden metric takes time. So currently, I'm working on one metric. What I would like to do is, I call it as domain health review. I like to update all my market leaders and the key players of our growth every week, trying to cover these 3 points. Looking into the search appearance ratio to understand if our website is high quality enough. Look at the crawl rates in a different way, not just looking at the crawl rates in the search console, and then understanding the indexing capacity. So by looking into these 3 things, and if I combine it in the right way, if I create one metrics out of these 3 dimensions, that will tell a lot about domain's health. And currently I'm working on this. And of course, I appreciate using different tools to grab this data.
Yeah, that's key parameters to measure your strategy effectiveness. So on the personal side, what are you doing on your free time?
I keep on working. So apart from joking, like, I try to take very long walks, especially over the weekend or even the weekdays. Like, instead of just taking the tram, taking the subway, I just sometimes walk home or go to the supermarket that is not very near to my apartment, but very farther. So just to get some exercise and also like fresh air to clear my head. I've been playing guitar since I was like 15, 14, and I still do that at times. I'm also trying to experiment with electronic music a little bit by using laptops and so. And I keep on reading. So it's a cliche, but it's one of my New Year's resolution to read more. So I just bought myself a Kindle because I was really keen on reading the books by holding them, feeling them. But I keep on moving. I keep on changing countries. For the last 5 years, this is my 4th country to live in, and I cannot carry all these books with me. I keep selling them. I keep giving them to people. That hurts me. So I bought myself Kindle so I can read more, I guess.
Sounds good. I'm actually playing the guitar as well, so we should do gigs sometime.
Yeah, definitely. We should make it.
Last question. So you joined the ambassador board recently. So how does it feel to be one of our ambassadors?
I think OnCrawl, the difference is that it's not just a crawler tool. So I personally, I would say I love the relationship that I have with your employees, especially with your customer success team. It's amazing. Like, every time I need some help, they are there. Every time I have even a silly question or a complex question or an easy one, they're happy to help. And all the people working at that I know at OnCrawl are very friendly, smart, and caring about what they do. And this just helps the relationship that we have developed together to get better and better every day. So recently, I was in New York City visiting our office in there, and I had the chance to meet people working in Montreal. Came to here. That was a great experience. So, and we keep on regularly catching up with the team members. So it's not just like they use your name, you use their crawler. It's building a relationship, and it doesn't sound like the different ambassadorships happening. So it's very well implemented, and I'm very honestly say that quite glad that I joined as an ambassador.
Thank you very much for the kind words. Really appreciate it.
So,
Thanks for your time, Murat. It's great to get to know you a little bit better. I hope you enjoy our little conversation. So this is the end of this interview. Thanks for your time. Thanks for being one of the ambassadors, and I hope to talk to you soon.
thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Bye, Murat.
Goodbye. Thanks for hosting.